picture of Stonehenge. It's quite a thick book with these drawings on the end. And on the back it says, "There is no desire more natural than the desire for knowledge." Michael de Montaigne. Let's take a look in the inside. It's a nice decorative cover that matches the binding. This was written in 2012 by Publications International. So before we get started, I had a request to try some chewing gum. So today I'm going to do this Orbit. So if you do not enjoy mouth sounds, this is not the video for you. I personally do not enjoy mouth sounds when I'm trying to relax. So we'll see how this goes because I don't normally do this sort of thing. Now, I think I'm going to start out with just a half a piece of this because I feel like the bigger the piece of chewing gum, the louder it sounds like you're smacking your jaws. So I'm just going to do a half and see how we do with that. So it says contents. You can never get enough unusual knowledge. We have movies and television, American landmarks, games people play, art and literature, all about animals, money and business, intriguing individuals, Earth and the universe, waging war, happy holidays, pop culture and games, the supernatural, history, around the world, technology and inventions, death and the macabre, politics, crime, health and the human body, music, food and drink, religion. It says, you can never get enough unusual knowledge. From the day we're born, we know to eat, sleep, and seek comfort whenever possible. In school, we're taught the basics about how the world works, but sometimes we just need to dig a little deeper. That's where the Book of Unusual Knowledge comes in. The stories within this volume shed some light on the extraordinary things that the human mind can conceive. You'll discover amazing information about animals and intriguing tidbits about some of today's most revered institutions. What could cause a man to bury 10 Cadillacs nose down in a pasture? Why did the King of Prussia assemble an elite infantry unit composed entirely of unusually tall men? Find the answers to those questions in the pages that follow. I thought I would just kind of look through here and see if anything piqued my interest as we look at this. Behind the films of our times, editors left a handful of scenes from King Kong 1933 on the cutting room floor. One features the gorilla taking off actress Fay Wray's clothes. Another involves King Kong shaking a group of sailors that's really true because that's pretty funny. The cult classic Monty Python's Life of Brian, 1979, was never shown in some countries. Ireland and Norway were among several nations that banned the movie upon its release. I do think that is true, and I have read that before. The Aston Martin car driven by James Bond and Goldfinger was later sold at auction for a cool $275,000, making it one of the most expensive props ever to appear in a film. I kind of feel like they've probably topped that at this point. The script of Raiders of the Lost Ark 1981 called for Harrison Ford's character, Indiana Jones, to engage in a sword fight with an enemy. A scene that would have required hours of filming, but Ford, who was weak and in pain with a nasty case of dysentery, asked director Steven Spielberg, "Can't I just shoot the guy instead?" Spielberg complied. Ooh, because you know I love urban legends, let's read about Hollywood's urban legends. If ever there was a breeding ground for urban legends, it would be in the Hollywood Hills. Simply put, people love to hear all sorts of gossip about stars and movies. The weirder the better. Here are some of the strangest urban legends to come out of Hollywood. Humphrey Bogart was the Gerber baby. Everyone knows the famous black and white drawing of the baby that graces Gerber baby food products. Well, there's an urban legend that the baby is none other than actor Humphrey Bogart. This rumor may stem from the fact that Bogart's mother, Maud, was an illustrator who actually did sell drawings of her son to advertising agencies. In fact, she did allow one of her drawings of Humphrey to be used in a baby food advertisement for Mellon's baby food. Gerber did not start producing baby food until 1928, and by that time, Bogart was 29 years old, making it unlikely, but not impossible, that he was the Gerber baby. We know that the Ann Turner cook was the model. In 1928, she was drawn by artist Dorothy Hope Smith, who submitted the drawing to Gerber. And I believe they just looked for another Gerber baby recently, didn't they? I don't know who the new Gerber baby is, but I'm pretty sure that they looked for a new one in the last few years, maybe. Anyway. Disney on Ice. In life, Walt Disney warmed the hearts of millions. In death, Disney is rumored to have had himself frozen until such a time that scientists could warm him up and bring him back to life. What sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie may have been rooted in the fact that Walt Disney liked to keep his personal life private. So when he died, specifics about his burial were kept under wraps, leading to all sorts of speculation. Rumors were further fueled when Disney was buried in Forest Lawn Cemetery in Glendale, California, which does not publicly list who is interred there. But Disney's unfrozen remains are indeed there in the Freedom Mausoleum, along with those of several family members. 3 men and a baby and a ghost. There's a scene in the movie 3 Men and a Baby, 1987, in which Ted Danson's character Jack and his mother are walking through Jack's house while the mother's holding the baby. As they walk in front of a window, the ghostly image of a boy is seen standing in the background. When the characters walk by the window a second time, the boy has been replaced by what appears to be a shotgun. Legend has it that the ghost is that of a boy who accidentally shot himself to death with a shotgun in the house where the movie was filmed. Of course, the truth is a little less spooky. What many people mistake for the boy's apparition is nothing more than a cardboard cutout of Danson, which was supposed to be part of a subplot those scenes weren't filmed in a house either. They all took place on a studio set in Toronto. That's what I always thought of that whole, and I do remember hearing this rumor when I was growing up. Munchkin suicide in The Wizard of Oz. In The Wizard of Oz, 1939, shortly after Dorothy and the Scarecrow convince the Tin Man to join their posse, they begin singing and skipping down the yellow brick road. As they round the bend in the road and dance off the screen, a strange dark shape can be seen moving in a bizarre fashion to the left of the road. It's said that one of the Munchkins, heartbroken after a failed love affair, chose to take his own life as the cameras rolled. It makes for a creepy story, but there's no truth to it. What people are actually seeing is nothing more than an exotic bird flapping its wings. I don't know if you guys have ever played Dark Side of the Moon while watching The Wizard of Oz, but it was a fun thing we did with our kids. Prior to filming, the director decided that adding strange exotic birds to the scene would give it more color, so he rented several birds from the Los Angeles Zoo and allowed them to roam freely about the set. Let's read a little bit about baseball. Baseball pitches. Ever wonder about the mechanics of the various types of pitches? Here are the tricks as they apply to right-handed pitching. How does one throw a curveball, and how does it move? Answer. Several throwing grips begin with holding the ball in a peace sign, index and middle fingers making a V, thumb below. In contrast to the fastball, which is held with the fingertips, you cram the ball deep in the hand for a curve. Deliver the ball fully overhand, with mostly top-to-bottom motion, snapping the hand as though pounding a nail with a hammer. Let the ball squirt out. If done correctly, the ball will arc sharply down and to the pitcher's left. Good curveball pitchers produce dozens of annoying little curveball variations, which is important because a good hitter can see the curve coming. How about a slider? Very different. Start with the peace sign grip, but put the fingers together like a Cub Scout salute, with the thumb alongside the ball rather than below it. Cock the wrist right. Instead of extending your arm to throw, pull the ball back behind your ear, the way a quarterback throws a football. As you throw, cut your fingers away viciously to the right, creating a fierce side spin. The ball should curve away left. A great slider thrown at the batter breaks across the plate for a strike while the batter jackknifes away from it. Now you see why it's a hated pitch. Surgeons are familiar with the slider. Its effect on the elbow can be devastating. Kids should avoid throwing it. I do know that there are several examples of pitchers like breaking their arms as they're throwing the ball. What about the famous splitter? It's also known as the split-fingered fastball. Put the ball in a peace sign fastball grip, but curve the fingers down the sides of the ball to make a kind of wilted peace sign. That crams the ball between those fingers, splitting them wide apart. Now throw your normal fastball, flicking your wrist down a bit. Done right, it looks like a fastball and droops slightly just before the dish. Good hitters can hit anything they can pick up, and the splitter is hard to see coming. Many Little League coaches say the ability to change speeds is the most important pitching tool. How is a changeup thrown? The changeup can be thrown many ways, but here's a mainstream approach. Add your ring finger to the peace sign grip. So let's see. So So we're going to have to, with 3 fingers now. So throw it with all 3 fingers extended in a Boy Scout salute and aim at the catcher's head. Some pitchers have to aim at the umpire's head. Throw it like a fastball, but with more downward motion. It should look like a fastball, but it should arrive late and tend to fall off at the end. The reason you aim high, to upset a hitter's timing. Good pitchers use different speeds. How do you chuck the knuck? The knuckleball is difficult, but it's so easy on the arm that its masters can pitch professional ball into their late 40s. Interesting. Experiment with grips. No two are alike. Start with the Boy Scout salute change-up grip, previously described, but curl the 3 fingers back on themselves so the tips dig into the ball. Align them behind the lace. Stiffen your wrist and throw the ball, flicking your fingers forward. The idea is to flick just hard enough to defeat the ball's natural backspin so that it hardly spins at all. Letting wind currents cause the ball to float around. Catchers like watching the batter's head bob up and down trying to follow it. You haven't lived until you've watched someone try to bunt the knuck, moving his bat up and down. Let's see, so we have fastballs are 4-seam, 2-seam, cutter, splitter, forkball, and sinker. Breaking balls, curveball, knuckle curve, slider, screwball. Change-ups, change-up, palm ball, circle change-up. Others, knuckleball, ifus pitch, spitball, gyro ball, shudo. Who knew I'd be saying ball so much today? How about this? The death of Sherlock Holmes. I am in the middle of the last Holmes story Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote to his mother in April 1893, after which the gentleman vanishes, never to reappear. I am weary of his name, but Doyle was wrong. It would take several more months for the author to figure out a suitable demise for his world-famous and wildly popular detective. But why kill Holmes at all? It's a mystery. After bursting onto the scene in 1887, Sherlock Holmes became one of the most enduring literary characters of all time. His popularity gave Doyle the financial and artistic freedom to pursue whatever creative avenues he chose. But as the years went by, Doyle began to feel strangled by his own creation. There are many theories about Doyle's decision to kill off Holmes. Some postulate that publishing deadlines were tight, and the pressure of always having to come up with intricate plots was wearing on Doyle and affecting his overall literary output. The difficulty of the Holmes work, Doyle wrote, was that every story really needed as clear-cut and original a plot as a longish book would do. One cannot, without effort, spin plots at such a rate. Another theory is that because he was so busy writing Holmes stories, he did not notice at the beginnings of an illness in his wife that eventually became tuberculosis. As a doctor, Doyle should have recognized her condition long before it developed advanced symptoms, wrote biographer Martin Booth. It has been suggested that Doyle felt guilty for this and blamed Holmes. Perhaps killing the character was a form of revenge. Whatever the reason, Doyle had been thinking about killing Holmes for quite some time. Toward the end of 1891, he mentioned his plans to his mother, and she frantically pleaded with him to change his mind. Doyle did so, albeit briefly. Fearful falls. Doyle knew that Holmes needed a proper death. A man like that mustn't die of a pinprick or influenza, he said. His end must be violent and intensely dramatic. In the summer of 1893, Doyle told suitable end for his detective. Doyle then set about writing the final problem, in which he created the criminal mastermind, Professor Moriarty. At the end of the story, the two adversaries, locked in combat, apparently plunge into Reichenbach Falls. Killed Holmes, Doyle noted in his diary, or so he thought. A cry heard around the world. The death of Sherlock Holmes unleashed worldwide protest. The Strand magazine, publisher of the Holmes stories, lost 20,000 subscriptions, and people in London wore black mourning armbands. Even the British royal family was upset. Poor Doyle. He just needs a break. For years, Doyle resisted the pressure to bring back Holmes. Finally, in 1901, he released The Hound of the Baskervilles, but set it before Holmes's death. However, the public still wasn't satisfied. In 1903, Doyle relented and published The Adventure of the Empty House, which brought Holmes back safe and sound. It turns out he never went into the falls at all. Yep, that sounds about right. You can see the camera like panning over the edge, and here's Holmes climbing back up the side. Ultimately, Doyle's creation had a life of its own, and he went on to write Holmes stories for another 2 decades. Oh man, can you imagine? I think we'll skip that one. Ooh, cats. I mean, because who doesn't like cats? I can't trust you if you don't like a cat. The purpose of purring. Felines are forever mysterious to mere humans. One of our favorite kitty quirks is the act of purring. Don't cats purr because they're content? When cats purr, people are happy. But cats aren't always happy when they purr. There are actually several reasons why cats purr, and happiness is only one of them. Purring begins at birth and is a vital form of communication between mother and kitten. The kitten purrs to let its mother know it's getting enough milk, and the mother cat purrs back to reassure her kitten. What's the significance of purring? Cats purr throughout their lives, and often at times when you wouldn't expect. Cats purr when they are frightened, ill, or injured. They even purr while giving birth. Animal behaviorists believe that cats purr to comfort themselves during stressful situations and to signal their feelings to other cats. A frightened cat may purr to indicate that it is being submissive or non-threatening, and an aggressive cat may purr to let other cats know that it will not attack. Some cats purr even when they're dying. Domestic cats aren't the only felines that purr. Some of the big cats, lions, cougars, and cheetahs, also exhibit this endearing behavior, but it's much more soothing, not to mention safer, to stroke a purring pet cat than the king of the jungle. Napoleon Bonaparte suffered from ailurophobia, which is the fear of cats. Belgium once experimented with using cats to deliver mail. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that got derailed real fast. Ancient Egyptian families mourned the death of a pet cat by shaving off their eyebrows. Aww. The stripes on a tiger's face are used for identification, since no two tigers sport the same stripe pattern. Interesting. Oh, here we go. You want some freaky facts? Animal mating. The funnel web spider knocks his mate unconscious with pheromones before mating. The male Acrosonatus spider secretes a drug that intoxicates the female, which is good because otherwise she would devour him. Interesting. Harlequin bass and hamlet fish take turns being male and female, including releasing sperm and eggs during the mating process. I did not know that. Albatross males can spend weeks courting, and their relationships can last for decades. However, the actual act of mating lasts less than a minute. Well, there you go. Fruit flies perform an elaborate 7-step dance before mating. If any part of it is not completed perfectly, there will be no copulation. Tense. Oh my goodness. Mayflies live for only one day, during which they do nothing but mate. The rattlesnake has 2 penises. The penis of the echidnas has 4 heads. Oh my god. And a pig's is shaped like a corkscrew. Oh, I just assumed it was their tail. The male swamp antechinus, a mouse-like marsupial in Australia, has sex until he dies, often from starvation. Often he's eaten because he's simply too weak after mating to escape predators. The idea that possums mate through the female's nostrils is a myth. Oh my god, who thought that? Okay, I have never once heard that one. Although the male possum has a forked penis, he mates with the female in the normal manner. So let me get this right. People thought because it had a forked penis, it must mate through the nostrils of the female. Conveniently, she has 2 uteri, so he deposits sperm into both of them at once. Well, I actually know several women who both have 2 uteri as well. So I guess they could stand a multi-penised male. Rattlesnakes can mate for 23 hours. Exhausting. And soapberry bugs can go for 11 days. But that's nothing compared to stick insects. They can go on for 2 months. So I guess if you find 2 stick insects together, leave them alone. They're not done yet. Alright, since we covered some cats, we'll cover some dogs as well. It's a dog's life. Ask a proud dog owner about the age of his or her beloved pooch, and you'll likely hear this response. Well, Fido is 5 in human years, so multiply that by 7, and he's 35 in canine years. But doggone it, it's just not that simple. Calculating canine years. A number of factors are taken into account when one attempts to equate a dog's developmental level with that of a human being. Breed, size, heredity, nutrition, and training can affect and influence the development and, therefore, the human age of a dog. Generally speaking, human beings experience developmental stages at these approximate ages: infant, 1 year; toddler, 3 years; youngster, 6 years; adolescent, 11 years; teen, 15 years; adult, 20 years; mature adult, 65 years; old coot, 85 years. Note that the rate of development is faster and closer together in the early years and spreads out as time goes on. Interesting side note, I just read somewhere recently that humans actually age faster during different periods in their life. Of course, we have puberty where you go through a quick change, but they actually said that we also go through a rapid aging in our 40s and then another rapid aging in our mid-60s. Dogs experience similar developmental stages. They just don't hit at the same points and in the same time frames as humans do. For example, an infant gains certain motor and communication skills, as well as knowledge, in his or her first year. In the same time period, most dogs, regardless of breed or size, reach a physical and emotional maturity similar to that of a teenager. Yeah, that sounds about right. Almost all dogs develop at the same rate in their first 5 years. Relative to human years, they generally follow this range. 1 human year equals 15 dog years. 2 human years equals 24 dog years. 3 human years equals 28 dog years. 4 human years equals 32 dog years. And 5 human years equals 36 dog years. A breed apart. Relatively speaking, a larger breed will age at a faster rate than a smaller breed. At 7 human years, a Chihuahua is considered 44 in dog years, whereas a Labrador has hit the big 5-0. This span will continue to grow as the years go by. At 10 years old, the Chihuahua is 52 in dog years, whereas the Lab is ready to collect Social Security at 66. We had some Labs, and they were very busy. Busy dogs. And I had a family member who had a Chihuahua that was an absolute terror. It was a terror. Part of this growth disparity is due to the fact that larger breeds tend to have shorter lifespans than smaller breeds. Larger breeds, such as Great Danes, St. Bernards, and Irish Wolfhounds, are susceptible to disabling ailments such as arthritis and hip dysplasia. Other concerns include nutrition and health care. If the family dog receives a balanced meal, as well as regular checkups and shots, it should live a long life. Also, just as humans do, dogs start to experience problems with sight, hearing, mobility, teeth, gums, and digestion as they near the senior citizen status of 60 or 70 dog years, a mere 12 or 13 human years. But the good news, according to veterinarians, is that a dog's average lifespan has increased from 7 to 12 years in the past 8 decades. I believe that most people, I should say, take much better care of their dogs nowadays. More myths about dogs. A wagging tail indicates a friendly dog. It depends on the position of the tail when it's wagging. A loose mid-level wag usually indicates an approachable dog, but tails held high or low could signal an aggressive or defensive demeanor. So I've always taught my kids to never, ever approach a dog unless their owner says they can. Just not to be fast about the approach. Always approach slowly, let the dog get to know you, because even sometimes when a owner thinks that they'll be okay, maybe they don't like the smell on a person or whatever. So I always tell them to be very careful and don't assume that all dogs out walking with their owners are okay to pet. A dog is sick if its nose is warm. The assumption is that a warm-nosed dog has a fever, but the fact is that a thermometer is the only reliable way to measure a dog's temperature. The normal body temperature of a dog is 100.5 to 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, let's check out some more freaky facts of fashion. Napoleon regularly wore black silk handkerchiefs as part of his wardrobe, and he steadily won battle after battle. But in 1815, he decided to vary his attire and donned a white handkerchief before heading into battle at Waterloo in present-day Belgium. Well, anyone who is into sports knows that was a dumb idea, because that's how you lose, is you change up your wardrobe, and that's what happens. He was defeated, and it led to the end of his rule as emperor. The shoe has historically been a symbol of fertility. In some Eskimo cultures, women who can't have children wear shoes around their necks in hope of changing their childbearing luck. In the Middle Ages, pointy-toed shoes were all the rage. The fad was so popular that King Edward III outlawed points that extended longer than 2 inches. The public would inches or more. Oh my gosh. That sounds like some crazy runway thing. Catherine de Medici popularized high heel shoes for women when she wore them for her 1533 wedding to Henry II of France, who later became king. However, several sources say that men had been wearing heels long before that to keep their feet from slipping off stirrups while riding on horseback. A century later, when King Louis XIV of France wore high heels to boost his short stature, the trend became popular with the nobility. When Joan of Arc was burned at the stake, she was condemned for 2 crimes: witchcraft and wearing men's clothing. In the 16th century, men wore codpieces for numerous reasons. The frontal protrusions held money, documents, and whatever else they needed to carry, if you know what I mean. Let's check out a couple more things. Faulty forecasts. Predicting the future is seldom easy, even for people who are widely respected for their expertise and authority. Here are some serious statements that were way off the mark. I think there is a world market for maybe 5 computers. That was Thomas Watson, chairman of IBM in 1943. Oh, Thomas. The Americans have need of the telephone, but we do not. We have plenty of messenger boys. Sir William Preece, chief engineer of the British Post Office in 1876. Who the hell wants to hear actors talk? H.M. Warner Brothers, 1927. Yeah, that sounds like somebody from a studio. They like to come up with all kinds of opinions. We don't like their sound, and guitar music is on the way out. Decca Recording Company rejecting the Beatles in 1962. Oops. It will be years, not in my time, before a woman will become prime minister. Wow. Margaret Thatcher, 1974. Well, fair, Margaret. I see no good reason why the views given in this volume should shock the religious feelings of anyone. Oh, Charles, if you only knew. Charles Darwin, The Origin of Species in 1869. With over 50 foreign cars already on sale here, the Japanese auto industry isn't likely to carve out a big slice of the U.S. market. Business Week, 1968. Ah, yes. The bomb will never go off. I speak as an expert in explosives. Admiral William Leahy, United States Atomic Bomb Project. Well, Admiral, I think you were sorely mistaken on that one. Airplanes are interesting toys, but of no military value. Marechal Ferdinand Foch, Professor of Strategy, L'École Supérieure de Guerre, 1911. I know, I really probably pronounced that horribly, but my apologies. Louis Pasteur's theory of germs is ridiculous fiction. Pierre Paget, Professor of Physiology at Toulouse, 1872. Well, thank God Louis Pasteur didn't think it was ridiculous. The abdomen, the chest, and the brain will forever be shut from the intrusion of the wise and humane surgeon. Oof. Also, thank God it's not Sir John Eric Erickson, Surgeon Extraordinary to Queen Victoria, 1873. Although, wise and humane can be relative depending on the surgeon. What? Men dodging this way for single bullets. What will you do when they open fire along the whole line? I'm ashamed of you. They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance. Last words of General John Sedgwick, spoken during the Battle of Spotsylvania, moments before he was killed by a bullet to the eye. because you're never going to make it as a singer. Memphis musician Eddie Bond, after hearing Elvis Presley in 1954. Well, there you go. Keep doing what you love. People get it wrong all the time. Alright, we'll find one more. The early days of video games. Today's die-hard video gamers might chuckle at the thought of playing a simple game of table tennis on a TV screen. But without Pong, there might not be Grand Theft Auto. Read on to learn about the early history of the video game. Space War. At MIT in 1962, Steve Russell programmed the world's first video game on a bulky computer known as the DEC PDP-1. Space War features spaceships fighting amid an astronomically correct screen full of stars. The technological fever spread quickly, and by the end of the decade, nearly every research computer in the United States had a copy of Space War on it. Pong. In 1972, Nolan Bushnell founded Atari, taking the company's name from the Japanese word for the chess term check. Atari released the coin-operated Pong later that year, and its simple, addictive action of bouncing a pixel ball between two paddles became an instant arcade hit. In 1975, the TV console version of Pong was released. It was received with great enthusiasm by people who could play hours of the tennis-like game in the comfort of their homes. Tetris. After a runaway success in the Soviet Union, Tetris jumped the Bering Strait and took over the U.S. market in 1986. I had no idea that's where it started. Invented by Soviet mathematician Alexei Pajitnov, the game features simple play, turning and dropping geometric shapes into tightly packed rows that drew avid fans in both countries. Many gamers call Tetris the most addictive game of all time. I agree. I'm a fan of Tetris. Space Invaders. Released in 1978, Midway's Space Invaders was the arcade equivalent of Star Wars, a ubiquitous hit that generated a lot of money. It also introduced the high score concept. A year later, Atari released Asteroids and outdid Space Invaders by enabling the high scorer to enter his or her initials for posterity. Oh yes. Pac-Man. This 1980 Midway classic and the world's most successful arcade game, selling some 99,000 units, featuring the yellow maw of the title character, a maze of dots, and 4 colorful ghosts. The game inspired rap songs, Saturday morning cartoons, and a slew of sequels including Ms. Pac-Man. Donkey Kong. In 1980, Nintendo's first game marked the debut of Mario, who was soon to become one of the most recognizable fictional characters in the world. Originally dubbed Jumpman, Mario was named for Mario Saccoli, the one-time owner of Nintendo's warehouse in Seattle. Q*bert. Released by Gottlieb in 1982, this game featured the title character jumping around on a pyramid of cubes, squashing and dodging enemies. Designers originally wanted Q*bert to shoot slime from his nose, but that was deemed too gross. Fair. From 1988 to 1990, Nintendo sold roughly 50 million home entertainment systems. In 1996, the company sold its billionth video game cartridge for home systems. In 1981, 15-year-old Steve Jurasek set a world record on Williams Electronics Defender. His score of 15,963,100 landed his picture in Time magazine. It also got him suspended from school. Oh my gosh. He played part of his 16-hour game when he should have been attending class. In 1977, Atari opened the first Chuck E. Cheese's Pizzeria arcade establishment in San Jose, California. Nolan Bushnell bought the rights to the pizza business when he parted ways with Atari in 1978. Then he turned it into a nationwide phenomenon. It was later acquired by its primary competitor, Showbiz Pizza. Well, there you have it, folks. The Book of Unusual Knowledge. All kinds of interesting stuff in there. Thought it was a fun little book. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you liked the gum chewing. I didn't do a whole lot. Let me know if you liked the gum chewing. Definitely is a wetter sound than usual, which is fine. But let me know if you want me to do some more out of this book. It is kind of a fun thing to look at. As always, I hope you're taking care of yourself and sleep